Alright. Let's go. This is my super definitely serious sea fantasy commentary of a run I did a couple days ago. This game's fantastic. I love it so much. So this is a fishing RPG. It came out January 2025. We're playing as Rod Ocean, which is a name I could not make up. It's so funny. Rod Ocean, of course Rod really likes fishing, so we're gonna be fishing a lot in this game. That's what you do in sea fantasy. What else is there to do? What else would you do in a world called sea fantasy? You'd fish, of course. But they're not called fish, okay? They're called sea-as. They're not fish. Don't call them fish. I don't think they actually ever call them fish in this game. They're just all sea-as. Anyway, it's an RPG, so there's a lot of story and cutscenes to skip, which is great. We can skip the cutscenes at any time. So there's some fishing RPG mechanics here. There's like stats and stuff. There's equipment. We're gonna be following the story pretty much to a T and not going too far out of our way for any extra stuff here. Just a quick little overview of the fishing minigame. You saw it go through just a couple times there. You gotta, it's mostly just this timing minigame where the bar moves and you gotta click it in the right spot. If you click it on the orange spot, you get a critical hit and do like 3 times damage. It's really good to get perfects when you can. You'll be able to see it quite a bit here pretty soon. We have a tiny little mandatory grinding session. But yeah, the story stars our heroes Rod Ocean and Axel Brave. Very, very protagonist sounding names. And they're kind of just on a fishing quest right now. They want to see the world, and they figure if they go fish up fish and sell fish parts, they can commission boats to take them to new places and stuff. So that's what we're kind of doing here. This is the mandatory grinding session that they give you at the start of the game. You got to get enough fish, enough sea-as. I'm sorry, I'm gonna make that mistake a lot. To get 128 gold. That's the goal here. Well, 120 at minimum, but 128 is a little more comfort. So our goal here is to catch about 15 parts worth, and each time you fish up a sea-as, dang it. I need a counter. You're gonna see on the left, it's gonna show how many of a part we get, and our goal is to get about 15. You get about 1 to 3 per catch here. There's a secondary objective here. I think there's four different fish you can catch here. By the end of the game, we do need a certain amount of unique fish caught, sea-as caught. So if we can manage to get all 4 here, it saves a extremely tiny bit of time later, but it's not really anything to worry about. We get 124 gold, which is above what we need, but just shy of the minimum, so I have to take a very minor detour coming up here. But Rod and Axel, they're getting enough money so they can stay in the inn and pay for the boat to the next thing, and that's kind of their plan. That's what they're gonna do here. So our fishing captain Bacchus, that's his name, like the wine, like the god of wine. That's it, right? I think that's it. Anyway, he's also a ship captain. Here's where we went out of our way here. We went out of our way to get a little key so we can get into this place with a bunch of barrels and steal their money. We would be getting this anyway, but we have to take a tiny detour to get it here since we didn't get quite enough money. We do need the money before coming back here. So we're gonna go fish in the jungle because whoa, jungle fish must be super dang cool. We're gonna get a lot of money. So we're gonna travel through the jungle here. Oh, look at all this pond with all these sea-as that we're gonna ignore. We're gonna come up here and some bad stuff is gonna happen. We're skipping cutscenes so you don't really get to see it, but Axel gets eaten by a gecko. a giant gecko. And Rod wakes up in a weird place. He's like, what the heck just happened? So he finds this giant golden dragon who's like, hey there, how's it going? the Rod's like, giant golden dragon, can you help find my friend Axel who got eaten by a giant gecko? He's like, okay, but I'm a little weak, so I'm gonna need you to get me some elixir reagents to craft some mystic sea-as elixir to get me all better. Oh, but Rod has to explain the situation. I'm sorry. He has to explain how it happened to Bacchus here. So Bacchus is like, what in the world is going on? So Bacchus takes us to the next island for free, talks to our friend Gwen, and Bacchus tries to convince old Gwen to lend us a boat so we can go get our things, our elixir materials for the dragon, so we can, because he feels responsible, right? Because he's ferrying these kids around. So now we have a boat, and our goal is to go find these elixir things to help our friend. To help the gold dragon so we can help our friend, that's it. So, from this point on, the game is kind of just a boss rush. Our mandatory fishing thing at the start is pretty much the only time that they make you catch things that aren't bosses. We're going to take a quick inn trip here. This is why we needed the extra 8 gold. The 128 gold is to stay at that inn, because we're about to get a something that lets us warp at 2 inns that we have stayed at. So we're going to come back to the island a couple more times, and having the warp right now is pretty good. So, alright, this is where our first elixir fish is. We're going to take a little detour up here to grab this rod. The shell rod. Is it the shell rod? I just saw it and I already immediately forgot. We're going to equip the rod, and we're going to also equip some bait. Bait is, well, obviously, if there's a fishing game, there's going to have to be bait in it. Bait gives you a temporary bonus to one of your 5 stats, but is consumed for every catch you do. Since we're really only fighting bosses here, we don't really have to worry about bait, like the amount we have too much, because we're not going to be using it on like small fry or anything. This is the first. This is fish slime anyway. A lot of the fights are going to have these little dodging mini games before you actually get to the fight proper, which is kind of cool. It's a nice way to spice things up a little. When you can get in a position here to fish right before he hits that last one, so you can start the fight as quick as possible. The goal in these fishing minigames is obviously to get as many perfects as you can. You have to deplete their health before your health depletes. Didn't really get a... I can... When there's a longer fight, I can go into some more details about it. But that's pretty much it. You get experience for catching fish. Just about every single boss is going to give us a level up. You can put your level up points into any of the 5 stats you want. We put every single one into power, because power is by far the most important stat. Because it just increases the amount of damage you do, and that's great. Bait is really good too, because mostly we're going to be equipping power bait, which gives us a flat amount of extra power, which is great. When you have to do less of the game to make it faster, that's just better, right? We actually do catch one more extra fish here because of the thing I mentioned earlier about having to catch unique fish. This one is really quick. I'm gonna set my quick equip menu here. I equipped a potion for whenever I need to use a potion because I took damage, and I also equipped the warp necklace thing we just got there. We pick up a third power bait there. A lot of the shiny spots on the ground are just random pickups. They can be money or bait or a potion maybe. But a couple of them are guaranteed, and we only get the guaranteed ones because we don't have to deal with RNG. And that's fine, because we don't need it. I don't know if getting any of the extra ones would even help. But we get 3 guaranteed power bait, and that's pretty much all we need for these first 3 fights. So this fight... randomly will speed up the bar. Not all the fights are just going to be regular moving the bar and clicking the button. Well, okay. All of them are moving the bar and clicking the button, but they throw in some pretty wild gimmicks that try to prevent you from doing that as quickly as you can. It does not stay easy at all. But the first 3 fights with the rod that you pick up and the extra bait, they go by pretty quick and they're not dangerous at all. So now that we have the 3 elixir parts, we're going to go deliver it to the big old dragon here. And the dragon is going to, I guess, telepathically figure out where Axel is. And he tells us that Axel is not dead from being eaten by a gecko. He's actually being held prisoner. He's being held prisoner by a gecko. Where does a gecko find time to build a prison? I don't know. but this prison just happens to be underwater in this tiny pond next to Paddock Town here. So we're gonna go talk to Gwen. He's like, hey, can you help me get down here? And Bacchus is like, well, let's borrow this submarine, because of course, this tiny pond in this town has a submarine. To go down here. Of course it does. Of course it does. This game's fantastic. I love it so much. It's so wild. Oh, you gotta do this little shmup section where you're the submarine dodging stuff. There's no shmup parts though. There's nothing to shoot. You don't have a little submarine gun or anything. It's just a cute little mini game. You get relaxing underwater music. And you gotta dodge some walls and some mines, and it's not dangerous at all. Yeah, and we're already done. But, oh no, it might come out of nowhere. Ah! So, while we get hit by a mine and get set on fire, we do manage to make it into the temple, which is great. Because we're not drowned underwater in a submarine. Bacchus is like, alright, well I gotta put this fire out of the submarine. But Rod gets really impatient, and I'm gonna go look for Axel, and Bacchus is like, alright, whatever, I'm gonna fix this submarine. So now we have this tiny stealth section where Rod has to not get seen by the spotlights. You might think if you get seen by one of these spotlights, it just like, oops, game over, reload. But no, you actually get shot by a laser and turned into a skeleton. I wish I could show you. I wish I could show you. It looks so funny. It's just, the animation just looks so funny. Oh my gosh, I should have gotten caught there, but I didn't. Back at the when we first got here, we picked up an outfit from a dead guy. So we're gonna, outfits are also equipment items, and we're gonna put that on later. We also got a key so we can bust Axel out of prison here, and all these other people apparently too, who have also been taken prisoner by presumably the gecko. I don't know. He's doing pretty good. He's captured like 8 different people here. But we're gonna use the key to go up here, and we're gonna fight the gecko. We're gonna fight the gecko. So most of the fights from now on are going to be this swapping between Axel and Rod. Axel has this iron pipe he picked up, and he's using it to reflect these little goops back at the gecko here. And it's going to kind of be, most boss fights are going to be kind of two-parter. You're going to do something with Axel that involves beating him up, and then you're going to do the fishing part with Rod. And that's kind of cool. I like that. It puts a little fresh thing on the combat. We actually do take an intentional death here, because taking an intentional death here puts a 30 power bait right next to the respawn point, and then we also equip the outfit we got for some more stats. A 30 power bait is absolutely overpowered for this point. At baseline, it makes you do 30 more damage with each of your click, and so when we're only doing like 10 damage normally, 30 increase is a ton. And when you get a perfect, it just multiplies it, so that fight goes down without a hitch at all. So Axel beats up that gecko with his pipe after we fish it up. And we get out of there with our friend Axel. Yay! We saved him. Nice job. So, so now Rod and Axel went to the inn, got into bed, and fell asleep. I love that text line so much. I love it. It actually comes up a second time later. It's so funny. So we get a telepathic message from the dragon. He's like, "Hey, bring me your friend Axel." And I mean, who's gonna say no to a giant glowing, like, mega dragon in the middle of the jungle, right? So we immediately go back there and bring him our friend Axel. Axel changed out of his prison uniform, but Rod didn't. He's still wearing it. Maybe he finds it really comfy. I don't know, but it gives us some good stats, so it's fine. So I think in this cutscene with the dragon, we learn about some coming calamity in the world. Oh no, it's scary. It's very scary. But Yeah, like the gold dragon battled some big evil dark dragon in the past, and it's on the verge of returning. Oh no, it's so scary. You might have caught a glimpse of them in the very opening cutscene that we skipped. So okay, we'll help you out, but we're gonna need a bigger ship. So we go talk to Gwyn here, the harbor master, and he's like, I can get you a bigger ship, but you need to go get some Ciaz parts for me first. We're like, alright, sure, whatever. Take this letter to my friend down at Trolley Island. Where am I going? What are you doing past me? The beach is down here. So we go to Trolley Island. We're not sure why it's called that. We deliver the letter, and then we get to go into Trolley Island here. To catch the... he looks for 10 fish parts, so we need to catch 2 different fish. Oh, but first we have this minecart minigame. It's like a Mario and Luigi game. You got 2 jumps, and you gotta not get minecarted. This game is so funny. I don't know why. I can't. There's a very serious storyline. Even like the tagline of the game is like, this is not a oh, what does it say? I don't know. It's not. This is not a normal. This is not a peaceful story or something. I don't know. It says something like that. But I just cannot take any of this seriously. It's so funny. I love it so much. This game's fantastic. Anyway, minecarts. You'd think that since there's 2 lines of health bar, there's like, oh, Axel can take 5 hits and Rod can take 5 hits. No, it's actually just 10 health between the both of them. They share a life force. Alright, we need to get... There's 2 different Ciaz here. We gotta catch 5 different parts of each of them. We're gonna quick level up our power there, because this first fight takes just a little bit long if we don't have that. You can tell which fish you're catching because of the amount of health, but by the amount of health that they have. There's one that has 232 health, and there's one that has 256 health, and we need to catch them and get as many... But we get between 1 and 3 parts for each one we catch. So we need to get 5 parts of one and 5 parts of the other. So if you have really, really bad luck and get like 1 each time, 1 part each time, you're gonna have to catch like up to 10 fish here, which is absolutely ridiculous. But at minimum, you're gonna have to catch at least 4. The two fish we need are always the pink glowy ones, but you're not sure which one it is until you actually hook it. There's the fish that don't have the glow in this area. If you manage to like not get any pink glowy fish, you can immediately cancel out of the fights anytime you want to, and re-roll the fish. The Ciaz, dang it. So the grind isn't that bad here. Catching them isn't a problem. The problem is how many parts you get per catch, and it's listed on the left here. Well, it's listed on the left for a moment. You gotta look at it pretty quick. 1 more. But that's the wrong fish. But that's the wrong fish. I guess I said there was only 1 kind of mandatory grind part at the start, but no, this one can kind of get you. Oh, I guess the gimmick of these I didn't really talk about is these three little hills. You click on one and it randomly gives you a good, bad, or perfect, and that determines how difficult the proceeding or the game is, the little mini game is. But we want to get as many perfects as we can because it makes the bar absolutely giant. And that's just kind of random. Alright, so we brought Grin the parts, and he's like, alright, we'll go to the bed. Go to the bed. No, go to the inn and get into bed and fall asleep. And then in the morning, we'll have your ship ready. Cool. So we go get the ship, and then we can, it expands, when you get a ship upgrade, it, like, expands the ocean. You can go to more places in the ocean. We only go to the required places in the game for the most part, but there is a lot of little random side islands you can go land on and do some stuff in, catch some unique Ciaz. And it's a fun game to go around and explore for sure, beyond just the mandatory stuff. So we're gonna go to the Edo. It's a very, very pretty place. We are gonna stay at the inn here because we do need to warp back here twice. And money isn't really a concern after the initial 128 that we need. We do make a couple shopping trips, but there's money in the way before each of the shopping trips, and we can always get enough of what we want to buy, so it's not really a big deal. So I think, I'm trying to remember the plot here, I think the dragon needs some sort of super fruit that grows here, and that's why we're here. So we talked to this old guy at the top of the big tree, and he's like, sure, but the thing takes like 100 or 1,000 years or whatever to grow. But you can accelerate it by bringing it, I don't know if he specifically calls out the Giga Turtle liver, but that's what we're gonna go get. The Giga Turtle liver up here in the Saha land, that's where we're going. God, you can't talk about this game seriously because it sounds so bizarre. Like, I didn't make this up. I couldn't make any of this up. It's so funny. So this person here, talks about some magic tool that's in this cave up here. So she gives Axel a giant sword. So Axel has a big sword now, and Rod's gonna run into some boulders. Because his health doesn't matter. His health doesn't matter because right here we start the first of the the side-scrolling platformer sections. Oh, you thought this was just a fishing RPG, huh? Nope. It's got some side-scrolling platformer sections where you get to play as Axel and fail this first jump, and you get to chop some monsters, and they're very silly. Oh my gosh. Nothing here really hurts in any capacity. You're not going to be at danger of dying or anything. There's plenty of health littered around. It's really just a hold right as much as possible and get to the end. Axel just like plows through everything. He barely even uses his giant new sword. He just walks through everything. Like, get out of here. Oh, no. Nothing's dangerous. I mean, there are minor optimizations you can do. Like, there's a fight at the end you have to do, and obviously you want to just be holding right as much as possible. You know, giant boulders that are 4 times the size of you, no. Just land on them, do whatever. These giant monsters that are gonna eat you, yeah. We take a tiny bit of health there, but you don't really need it. So this is the boss of this zone. He's got 4 spots on his head where you can do damage, but your damage range is between 1 and 4, and you just want to roll as many 4s as you can because that's a lot of extra damage. And if possible, you want his hands to get in the way because they're actually hit spots too, but for the most part, you just want to jump and hit all 4 spots. And then he explodes, and he drops the first magical tool. Whoa, this one lets Axel pick up and throw boulders. So that's what we're immediately going to do right here. Pick up another outfit. This one's really good. So we've got the outfit out of there, and we've got the magical tools. We're going to make a shopping trip right here. We're going to buy 4 power bait, and that's actually all. We're going to equip the armor, and then we're going to stay at the inn. So Rod, looking pretty swanky here as a great thief. But after staying at the inn here, we're actually gonna make a really quick detour. We're gonna go up now that we have the magical tools, the gloves that help us break boulders. We're gonna come up here. We're gonna break this rock that we can do now and grab a rod out of here. This is our second of the 3 rods that we pick up, and this one's a pretty substantial upgrade to our shell rod. And it has a little passive effect that sometimes makes it so that if you miss the bar, you instead don't take damage, which isn't really reliable or anything, but it's a nice little extra thing. So here's the first, I guess not the first fight where we do the Axel rod swap, but Axel has to pick up these boulders and throw them at the Giga Turtle. I love the Giga Turtle. He sometimes spawns boulders whenever he clanks on the side here, and we just gotta do it a couple times to knock him over. So I would say there's probably 4 fights in this game that I would consider to be hard. Like the hardest ones. This is probably the fourth hardest fight, I would say, just because we're low level at the time, and the gimmick can get kind of in the way a little bit. So this is the Giga Turtle. What he does, the Giga Turtle spins your entire thing around sometimes, which not only is it disorienting by being flipped on the other side, it also will sometimes just cause the thing to shake, which can be kind of weird as well. But with the power of the new rod we got and the new bait that we've equipped, he's actually not that dangerous anymore. Goodbye, the Giga Turtle. Giga Turtle can drop two or three different materials. The Giga Turtle heart is the most important one, and that's the one that we got. It's random if you get the heart or not. But there's also a system in this game where you can use your C-as parts to craft hooks, and hooks give you a variety of benefits based on how many, or based on the materials you use. And the Giga Turtle heart that we get there is a substantial enough upgrade to just go ahead and grab it. If we don't end up getting the heart, the other parts that the Giga Turtle does drop are good enough, but the heart is definitely the best one. So now that we have the fruit or whatever, well, I said the fruit was for the dragon, didn't I? Oh yeah, we got the fruit. So Gwyn here, he tells us, all right, we'll give you another. I'll give you a even bigger boat, but you need to go get this weird legendary material because I want to build an airship. I think that's actually what happened. So we're like, all right, sure, whatever. We're gonna make a tiny detour there to pick up a C-as part. We're gonna use that for crafting a hook at the very end of the game. It's really good. But we're gonna keep it to the end of the game. So here is the Remole Forest. The second hardest fight in the game is here. Luckily, that rod that we picked up just earlier is a new addition to the route, and it actually makes this fight much easier than it used to be. We do use a couple skill stars on that screen. There's a couple spots I've been picking up these skill stars, and those just give you stat points. Getting zapped there is not ideal, because it does like 70-80 damage, and you do not have a lot of health. This gimmick, this little section at the start here with Axel, can be a little rough. These lightning bolts are not exactly accurate to where the shadows are. So you might get hit even though you are clearly not in the path of a lightning bolt, which is really unfortunate. Thankfully, if you do finish an Axel section of a fight, this is what the potions are for, to try to survive this part specifically, because it can be rough and a little unforgiving. If you finish an Axel part of a fight, the game autosaves and you don't have to do it again if you happen to lose on the fishing part. Since I got zapped and scared, I had to do one extra cycle here, which is a little annoying. But there we go, we got him. So this, I would say, used to be the second hardest fight in the game. I don't know if I would still consider it the second hardest fight in the game. I actually do take an intentional death here because having half health on this fight is rough. This is a rough fight. We'll get into it when we get into the fight here, but since I clicked restart after losing, I actually do get all of my health back. Unfortunately, I had to make the run through the forest again, but having all my health is really important here. So the gimmick of this fight is that he zaps you with lightning, which causes your speed to oscillate between fast and slow very rapidly, and it makes it nearly impossible to actually aim for perfects on this fight. But with the combination of the new rod that we've routed in, makes this fight much more bearable. That fight, without that mecha rod that we got, that fight is super rough. Used to be a pretty heavy time loss spot, depending on, because if like the blue bar, well, I guess I didn't really talk about the mechanics of the fight here. So the blue bar acts as a timer as well. It shrinks down, and if hold on, I'm sorry, Rod and Axel have to get into the inn, go into bed, and fell asleep. So if the blue bar fully closes down, you take damage. If the timer in the middle empties, you take damage. If you miss, if you click and miss, like outside of the blue or orange bar, you take damage. So you're going to take damage in this game. It is unavoidable. So you can't go for perfects every time. And you have to be fast too, because if you're not, things are going to do such a high amount of damage over time that you just can't survive it. So going for blues on that fight is very good. So now that we have our biggest boat, we are tasked to get... I don't even remember who gives us this task. It might have been a telepathic message from the gold dragon. I bet that's it. I don't remember. Anyway, we have to get this this fire thing's liver and a giant ice whale's liver. Yeah, that's what we're doing here. We gotta go see... We're gonna start at the fire zone, and we're gonna do it a little strangely. So the checkpoint in the fire zone, they say, oh, but you need a pass to get through. Well, we don't have a pass. Some people... Some little ninja-looking person says, hey, I have a pass if you come to this secluded beach over here. And Rod, being Rod, just like, okay, let's go. So we go over there, and Rod gets, like, held at knife point or something. And they tell Axel, alright, we'll let you save your friend if you go into this spooky dungeon and get us something. And Axel's like, well, I've got to, so that's what Axel is gonna go do. This dungeon has a little bit more fighting. It has these little monster fight arenas you gotta deal with. What is... Sometimes the animations break too. That's pretty good. Optimizing these is tough because the bats that spawn are really, really mean. They fly straight at where you were, and then they just stop moving. So if you don't get them on like their pass past you, they're just gonna hover in place and you gotta go out of your way to get them. I don't like these bats. These bats are really mean. But we get a really good magical tool out of this dungeon, which is why we come do it first. That's why we start... We actually start the fire area, start the ice area, finish the fire area, then finish the ice area. It's really weird, the route we take through here, but it turns out to be pretty cool because of some of the other things that we can do by getting the magical tools from each of the dungeons that are in their respective areas. Actually, you gotta move your feet to walk, kid. What are you doing? So the boss here isn't scary. He's just some swordsman guy. There he is. He's very green. With any luck, he'll just use that dash attack, and we can just keep on the right here and just keep jumping and swinging. If you swing from the ground, every other swing isn't gonna hit him. Oh, he has got Demon Fang. Watch out for Demon. Oh, he's got double Demon Fang. Dang, he must be a genius. But you need to jump and swing, because if you just swing from the ground, you're gonna miss every other swing. His hitbox is a little too high, in my opinion. But for doing that, we save Rod from certain death, but more importantly, we get a teleport rod. So Axel can actually teleport a short distance in front of him now that we're gonna replace with we're gonna replace walking with this wherever possible. He's just gonna kind of zap around. First thing we're gonna do here is we're gonna come over here to the Saha land. This is why we took the inn earlier, so we could warp back here and pick up the last rod that we're gonna pick up from that box there. Not rod as in rod ocean, rod as in fishing rod. I can see the... I get the confusion. They're both really important, but we're more interested in the master rod that we pick up there. It is beyond stronger than like anything you can get up to this point. It is such a powerful rod, and it's more than enough to finish out the rest of the game with. We're gonna make the last shopping trip here. We're gonna pick up 6 power bait, 6 technique bait, and as many Giga Potions as our remaining money can handle. And we're gonna be using all of that. We're gonna be using all of that. And now that we have done our shopping in the ice place, and we have our teleport rod, we stayed at the inn in the ice place so we can warp back there later. We're gonna do the 3rd and final Axel dungeon here to get our other magical tools. This first part here should be super dang easy. You can hold right the whole time and like make all of these jumps, and it should be pretty easy. Unfortunately, I don't do too well. Oh, I'm sorry, that's a spoiler. Sorry, you can watch for yourself. I don't mean to tell you how to watch the run here. So a little bit about what the stats do while I completely beef this part. There's power, which makes you... Power makes you do more damage, obviously. That makes sense. There's technique, which we got bait for to increase it later on. Technique increases the size of the blue and orange bar. It makes it a little easier. It gives you a little bit extra time because you get hit whenever the blue bar empties. But making the perfect bar a little bigger is actually super important for some very key fights later on. So we grab technique bait for those fights. There's the gut stat, which causes you to take less damage from a hit. Not important. There's the eyesight stat that gives you extra time. Axel, what are you doing? There's the eyesight stat gives you a little bit of extra time before you get chomped and take damage that way. Not important. And the luck stat, which causes enemies to drop materials more often, I think is what it does. I don't know. It's luck in a video game. Who knows what luck ever does in any video game? That's what it says it does. I don't know. Video games that have luck either don't explain how they work or explain wrongly how it works, right? So here's the meatball wizard. He's gonna drop meatballs from the sky that do very little damage, and he's just gonna fly up and down and left and right, and we're gonna chop him, and it's actually pretty dang simple. Falling here does... It's just a minor time loss. The damage isn't scary at all. So, from that dungeon, we get the magical tool, the fire rod. So now Axel... So now Axel is, like, fully decked out. He can lift rocks, he can teleport, and he can shoot fire. Man, this kid... This kid's an army. What the heck? He has so much responsibility that he's not going to use for good. This is probably the thing that feels the most out of the way in the run, in my opinion. With our two new magical tools, we come up here to the Wizard Mansion, and we're going to do her little minigame section here. And it's going to take about 4 or 5 minutes or so, which feels like an incredibly long time. But the reward you get from this is so powerful that it's worth it. Just 3 little doors here to get some key pieces so we can unlock that door down there. The place is full of unskippable cutscenes, except this one. I guess you can skip this one. Here's the fire rod with some swanky music. I don't know. I guess the witch lady has so many books that we're just cleaning up for her. I don't know. Maybe her library has gone rogue or something. And we just need to, like, clean up the mess, you know? I don't know, it seems really dangerous to be shooting a rod of magic fire at this wall of books. I don't know, we're gonna burn down the mansion before we do what she wants us to do, I think. I don't know. But we gotta do these little minigames. The reward we're gonna get from doing all this is an outfit. And you might be thinking, well, wouldn't your outfit, your Great Thief outfit, wouldn't that probably be enough? You don't have to go out of your way to do 4 minutes worth of minigames just to get another outfit. No, the outfit you get from this is so good. It's so good. If we didn't get this outfit, we might need to do, like, an extended EXP grinding session later on. It's just... In the long run, I'm pretty sure this is worth it. Or you can go completely stupid brave and try to do the final boss without this, which is incredibly unsafe. Everything that we go out of the way to do is, like, just to make the final boss easier. He's so hard. The final boss in this game is so difficult that any inch of safety we can get is so worth it. You do have to warp back from there. You'd think that maybe that she'd give you a little warp back so you don't have to use your teleport rod to get back. No, you gotta go back on your own. Here's another lengthy minigame. You gotta shoot these birds. Of course. Any self-respecting witch has way too many birds and needs kids to help clean them up with fire. So that's what we're doing here. I'd like to think this is a preview for their next game, Sky Fantasy. They're showing off some of their bird designs. At least you get the swanky music again. No, we gotta do this until the count on the door hits 100. I have no idea what makes the counter go up. I think it might be the enemies spawning. So you have to take them out as quickly as you can so they spawn faster, because that's what makes the thing go faster. But gosh, 100's a lot, isn't it? It feels like a lot. These things do damage. They do damage you, and you don't want to take too many hits. Well, I mean, I guess we bought a ton of potions, so it's not really a big deal. But there, that's the last thing we have to do to get the wizard outfit. In addition to having an incredible amount of good stats on it, the wizard actually boosts our bait. The bait that we have equipped, it boosts its effectiveness by 50%. Which, we're only using bait that gives us 30 in a stat right now, so that's an extra 15 of a stat, which is a lot. That's a lot. So we're going to equip the wizard, and we're going to equip the master rod. And this is probably the most, this is a safety strat that I'm doing right now. I think in a record run, you wouldn't come do this, but this is kind of a safety thing that I do to make the rest of the game a little bit easier. If you're going for a record, you wouldn't come do this part. So we come down here and we fight Venomous Dragon Venom, of course. Who else? Because Venomous Dragon Venom has a little super special item behind him. We could heal before this fight, but this fight's actually super dang easy, so 50 health is still enough to do it, as long as you don't miss. Fight's over. And we do get a level up from this fight, so we get fully healed. We're going to come back here and grab this hourglass. And the hourglass, well, we can talk about it a little later when we're going to use it, but what it's supposed to do, what it's listed as doing, is that it swaps between day and night. There's a day-night cycle in this game. It doesn't really affect a whole lot, except what Seas are out at the time. I almost called them fish right there. I caught myself. But it does something a little extra. So now that we've gotten the pass, we did that a little bit ago. We can come up here into the fire zone. See a little cutscene there. We're gonna hop into a house. There's a potion and a skill star in here. Fairly minor detour for some fairly minor items, but you never know. Maybe you need that one extra potion. So we're going to the volcano here. We're gonna find the flame ray is what it's called. In the top left, it definitely does not say flame ray. One of the names is wrong. I'm not sure which one it is. But we're in here to catch the flame ray, is what Axel and Rod call it. There's a lot of Seas. There's a lot of fish shadows here on the way, and we're actually looking for a very specific texture of fish in the water, in the lava. It's not water. It's very clearly not water here. So if you're familiar with Dragon Quest and metal slimes, they're like rare enemies that give a lot of EXP. This game has something similar. They're metal fish, obviously. There's 3 tiers of them, and the first tier isn't really worth getting ever, but the second and third tiers are definitely worth getting if you happen to see them along the way. They're pretty good boosts. The first one we catch is like 7 levels at this point. It's a lot. And it kind of diminishes from there, but we're actually going to do a fairly quick grinding session here. And that's the reason we got the hourglass. The hourglass, it says it switches between day and night here, but it actually also resets the fish shadows. And if you're looking for a specific fish that has a specific shadow, and you know what it's going to be, you can just reset until you get it, right? So that's what we're going to do here. The metal fish... Oop, I don't mean to pick that up. I'm trying to chop this guy and get him out of the way. Pick up that skill star. So you can actually see there's 4 fish right here. And we're going to reset until we get 2 metals is what I'm looking for. This is pretty RNG, and it's not required to finish, but it's a good safety. I think it's a good safety. I think it's worth grabbing 2 here. It's not that much extra time. Well, it's probably about total maybe 4 or 5 extra minutes off a world record. I would say is my guess. Getting Venom and then resetting. There's the metal fish. You can see the little metal sheen on it here. The problem with the metal fish is that they only take 1 damage. You only have to hit them like 12 times, which is great. But they do an incredible amount of damage to you, so you cannot mess up. They do about 100 damage, and thankfully I think 117 health is just enough to survive a time chomp. Even though I did mess up once. But you immediately get all your health back, and you get a lot of levels. Look at that. You get 13 skill points off that one guy. And I actually do grab a second one here, too. But yeah, this is the grinding session. It doesn't take very long. When you grab the hourglass early, you can just do this on your first trip here, and it doesn't take that long. But of course, random is random, right? I think this is a good enough safety to grab, especially if you're like, if I were to like submit this game to a marathon or something. I think this would be a good marathon safe strat, right? You do need, if there's one and there's these evil box guys in the way, you do need to throw the box guy away first, because these box mimic chompy guys, they will revive while you're fishing, and they will come damage you, and they will kill you while you're fishing. They will do that, so you need to get rid of them. I did have a run that unfortunately had that happen, where I found that out, and it was really funny, but it really killed the run too. So now that we got our 2 medals, we can continue on. If you are super lucky and you don't go farm, and you don't go beat Venom and get the hourglass, if you're really lucky, you can just get a medal or 2 along the way here when you're traveling through the volcano. That's probably the dream outcome. But that's a little too RNG heavy for me right now. When you can get the hourglass, you can guarantee asterisk getting it in a certain amount of time, just because you can reset so frequently. So here's Flame Ray. He's gonna shoot fire on the ground, and it's gonna spread out in a circle pattern. And your goal here is to teleport into the middle of the expanding circle as Axel, so you don't take damage. The fire does like 120 damage. It's a lot. If you get hit, you're probably gonna need to heal. This fight's easy enough. You probably wouldn't need to heal, actually, but we have enough potions that you can squander one on a not too required heal and still be fine. Oh, excuse me. Rah. So this fight's a little different in that the chomp timer in the middle is a lot. It's like 60. It's like 55 seconds. So you don't really have to worry about that time. But your thing moves really fast, so it pays to be patient, really. You're just patiently waiting for it to be on blue. Come on, he yells. And that's Flame Ray. So now that we're done with the fire area, we're immediately going to get, like, temperature whiplash and teleport to the ice area. And go finish this half. This NPC won't let us through until we finish up the Ice Axle dungeon earlier, so that's why we couldn't just do this our first trip here. Well, we needed the fire rod anyway, but... So, of course, in the Ice Forest, we're gonna save... Definitely not the Tin Man. We're gonna be we're gonna be thawing these robots, they call it, these robots, out of ice. We're gonna be... Axel's so responsible with the fire rod, immediately taking it to a forest and shooting it everywhere. This is what I would do if I was a kid with a rod that shoots fire. I'd take it to the forest. Now he's gonna run around here. We're gonna save 20 robots from the ice. Oh my gosh, this game is so funny. Because they have to help us chop down these little wooden fences, I guess. Some of the fences are much more sturdy than others, and you need... Everyone knows you just need... If your fence is sturdy enough, you just need more robots to chop it down. Oh my gosh. Up. do have to go pretty much everywhere in this forest, because you do need... There's only 20 robots, and you need all 20 of them to get to the end. We do pick up our last money pick up there. Come to think of it, we probably don't need that, because the only thing we need money for at this point is crafting a hook. And I think we haven't... I actually don't remember how much is in there. I think it costs 120 to craft the hook. So I don't know if we actually have 120. Depends on how much is in there. Whatever, the box is like right there, so it's really easy. It also serves as a safety strat if you happen to run out of bait and you need to like go emergency buy more bait. Having the extra money is a good idea. Alright, so we're through the 20... How do 20 robots chop a fence at the same time? I have no idea. They're really talented. So the robots don't follow us to this part, and we have a long walk up this little ice path here, where we're going to be shooting little weird purple crabs, I guess? There was a metal fish right there. I don't know if you caught it. I could have stopped to do it, but I had my two already. If you manage to like not farm and you get here and don't have a medal at this point, it wouldn't be such a bad idea to grab one here. This is like the last section where you're gonna see medals, I think. I think that's right. This might be, yeah, I think that's the last section where you can see the second tier metal fish. We're gonna grab these people boat and we're gonna climb up here. We're gonna surf up here. Boat up here. There we go. To fight Iceburn. You can shoot this. Funny enough, if you shoot this fish from off screen, and it skips the cutscene. When you skip the cutscene, it warps you to the fire area, and I have no idea why that happened. Reported that as a bug. Maybe it'll get fixed in the next version. Anyway. We're dodging that ice while shooting Iceburn. The gimmick of this fish is that he will sometimes freeze your bar, and you have to mash. You gotta mash to get out of the frozen part. There's a number on the ice that tells you how many times you need to hit the button to mash. It's not always the same amount. So you really need to be careful not to over mash, because more than likely, you're gonna get frozen over a bad spot that you don't want to click on. But not too bad. With the newly acquired Master Rod and the Wizard outfit boosting the super bait, the fire and ice fights go dang pretty quick. But Rod and Friend descended the mountain. There were no robots to see along the way. And Rod and Axel are very sad about the lack of killer axe robots. But we get over it. And now that we have both our ice and fire livers, we can go back to the giant tree. And this is a really hard fight. This is probably the third hardest fight in the game. This might be... I might classify this as the second hardest fight in the game now that we have the mecha rod to deal with the lightning fish. Anyway, this fight's tough. The first section of this fight, the axle part of this fight, you gotta chop this big fish. But there's gonna be tornadoes that spawn on top of you and do a lot of damage, and they can come on you really quick, so you really need to pay attention to your health and use your potions. This is what all the potions are for, is pretty much just this fight, in case these tornadoes just spawn on top of you. She also reverses your control, so you gotta deal with that if she's also moving away from you at the time. The fish part of this fight isn't really that much easier. So, we've seen the speed up gimmick before, but the gimmick we haven't seen before is that it will instantly reverse the way your thing is going. When you see the little bells and you hear the little ding, your cursor has been moved to the other direction, and if you're lucky, it'll ding while you're in the middle of clicking on a spot, and it'll like be ineffective. If you're lucky, that'll happen a lot, and it happened a couple times here, so we got kind of lucky there. We didn't have to deal with the ding that much. So it turns out that fish was actually a member of the Mitna clan. That's what they're called, the Mitna clan. And the Mitna clan are the people who are trying to revive the Dark Dragon. And that's... We got back to that story. We got back to that plotline. It came back. So we take the person we captured up to the dark, or the light dragon, and she tells us where the people are like basing their evil things, and it's like down at the prison we were at near the start of the game. Oh my gosh, we gotta go back there. We do catch 2 more fish there because I talked a little bit earlier about needing unique fish in order to unlock something at the end of the game, and that's what those extra fish there are for, just to make sure I have enough unique fish to unlock. What it unlocks is being able to use 2 materials when crafting a hook. We get barely enough unique fish to unlock being able to use 2 materials, and that's going to help out on the final boss. So now we're in the evil people who are trying to revive the Dark Dragon. We're in their little evil sewers, I guess. I don't know. We have to go look at that wall to find out that we need to blow up that wall, and then we can go get a bomb to blow up that wall. You can't get the bomb first. You actually have to watch the cutscene first. Also, while you're holding this bomb, you have more than 8 directional movement. Wish I could control the whole game this way. But I can't. I gotta deal with 8 direction movement only until you pick up a bomb. Here's a little box hiding sequence, I suppose. These things will also turn you into a skeleton if you get seen, so you don't want to get turned into a skeleton. Turns out skeletons aren't very good at fishing, so that's why we have to avoid that at all costs. These aren't random. They're on a specific pattern. You just gotta wait for the correct pattern in order to get through. We're almost done with the game. There's only 3 fights left. Here's one of them. This is Ghost. Ghost who controls Mist. You have to chop. One of these fish are choppable, and the other ones are not. And you just have to chop until you get the right one. I actually get super good RNG on this. That's amazing. I only had to chop like 1 wrong fish. That was incredible. Put the strength bait back on because we took it off earlier. The gimmick of this fight is that there's like these little ghost cursors that are supposed to mess you up, but they're a different color than yours, so it doesn't really mess you up. I don't know. I think that fight's supposed to be harder than it is, but it's not. Or maybe it's just a combination of the 45 extra power that we're getting from our bait. Ghost just kind of falls over. And that leaves just 2 fights. There's only 2 fights left. We are saving the gecko that beat us up earlier, because it turns out the gecko is actually the brother of the lady we saved, so we've saved him now. And now he takes us to the next fight, who is the worst researcher. The worst researcher, Adam Nitna. He's just the worst. He's just the worst, so we're gonna throw bombs at him. Who's the whole mastermind behind trying to revive the Dark Dragon. Oh no. Also, he's a fish, so... so he's gonna get treated like any other fish. We're gonna throw bombs at him and fish him up. This fight is really hard unless you have technique bait, by the way. Unless you're nailing perfects all the time, this fight is actually kind of tough. So we're gonna heal up, we're gonna equip the technique bait, and we're gonna go. So there's 2 gimmicks of this fight. First off, these little warp portals appear, and when you hit one, you get teleported to the other one. And that can really mess up your timings, depending on where things happen to be. The other problem are these little circular shields. Wherever the shields are, you cannot click. It won't give you a miss, but you can't click it. It just bounces right off. And the combination of where the shields are and where the warps are can be pretty unfortunate, but the technique bait letting you get more perfects on this fight, and in addition to making the blue bar bigger, makes that one not too bad. So, here we go, the final boss. We're going to craft our hook. We just barely got enough to be able to use 2 materials. We're going to use the Shenlong scale we picked up and a Grand Metal scale we picked up to craft a pretty dang good hook. We're going to equip Power Bait. This is actually a 4-part fight coming up. And we're going to use a Power Bait for the first half. I actually make a mistake here. Well, we'll talk about that in a second. The first part of this fight... This is a fishing game, by the way. This is a fishing game, if you're curious. We're going to be shooting fire from the back of this giant dragon. Axel's going to be shooting fire to block these meteors, is what... Gosh, I couldn't make this up if I tried. It's what we're doing here. These meteors, this part can get away from you kind of easily. You can shoot the dragon to do a little bit more damage here, but your allies are doing more damage, most of the damage here. You only have to get his health down to about 16,000, so it's not like a really long fight. It takes maybe 30-40 seconds. The second part of the fight, you can't win, so you just do nothing. That's pretty cool. The third part of the fight here, this is why we have the power bait on, is for this section, because this is the first section of the fight that actually uses the bait. So in this part of the fight, you have to hold a different button to deploy this little shield around you to block the meteors that are coming in. If you're not holding that button and the meteor hits your little marker, you'll take damage. However, you cannot click on a spot if you're holding the shield button. So you have to let go of the shield button and then press the button at the right time. It's a little strange to, like, you know, move your finger from one to another and then you're vulnerable in those couple frames. Your allies are also doing damage during this fight, so you don't have to be perfect. But yeah, we use power bait for this section because it makes it just a little faster. And we don't need the extra technique bait. So, here's the actual last boss right here. We do equip the technique bait for this one because it's borderline mandatory. So, this is the Dark Dragon. This fight is a combination of most of the gimmicks that we've seen throughout the game so far. He throws them at you randomly. And you just have to split-second deal with whatever happens. It's rough. This fight, I cannot express how utterly random and hard this fight is if you come in unprepared. Oh, sorry, you probably kind of heard my Slack notification. That's fine. Don't worry about that. Yeah, no, the enemy attacking you here is random, and I just kind of messed up a little too much there, and sometimes you gotta know when to give up and when to restart. I think this fight doesn't take too many tries, it's maybe 3. But yeah, it does the freeze thing, so you have to suddenly start mashing sometimes. It does the shields, that'll block your spots. It does the lightning, which will mess with your speed. It does the speedy tornado. It will put ice, it'll put slippery ice down that causes you to move fast over that specific section. It puts bubbles, where if you don't click the bubbles, you will take damage. If you don't click the bubbles within, like, the 5 seconds or so. Those are my least favorite. I do not like the bubbles at all. I think those are what causes me the most problems. It'll sometimes reverse your marker. It puts up these little fireballs, which will cause you to move fast. I actually don't mind the fireballs too much. But yeah, and you have to deal with all of these coming at you at completely random. And all of the extra going out of the way, getting, like, the wizard outfit, the EXP grind that I do, is just to make this fight more manageable, because it's rough. I don't know how easy it looks from a viewer perspective. Well, it doesn't look that easy from a viewer perspective. Maybe because I've played the game. But having to instantly decide, okay, am I gonna go for a perfect now? Or, you know, should I just get a blue hit? Oh, how long do I have before these bubbles do extra damage to me? Can I survive taking that extra hit? Am I even going to be able to get to it? Is, like, the freeze going to pop up and suddenly I'm not going to be able to get it? Oh, my cursor's bounced around everywhere. I'm dead. Sometimes that'll happen. Oh gosh, this fight's really mean. This fight's really mean. So one other thing to, like, pay attention to while you're playing, if you click retry, it'll start the game up faster again, but you'll lose the bait that you had equipped, which we only bought 6, right? And we've been using them. So we actually don't have that many left. So I do need to pay attention. If you lose too many times, you need to start remembering to reload your last save rather than clicking retry on a loss here. I don't think that becomes a problem in this run. But, it is something to keep in mind. And without the technique bait for this fight, you are in for a bad time. It's probably faster to just leave and buy some and come back. Yeah, this is tough. This one's tough. But a good indicator of like how the fight is going, you can like compare HP percentages. The fight doesn't do that much damage to you, but there's so many ways that it can mess you up and cause you to take damage for yourself. But watching the HP percentage is probably a good indicator of how the fight's going. I actually really like how this game has its hardest challenge beyond the final boss. That's actually really appealing to me. It's so cool, just like everything coming together for like a really tough challenge right at the end, you know? This game's so fun. I recommend playing it. It's really good. And there's a lot. There you go. You can't skip this part of watching the dragon get zapped. I tried. I don't know why I tried, because you can't skip it. And it's cool watching the dragon get zapped. Oh, the mistake I made, I talked about, I didn't actually use my skill points, so I was probably missing out on about 12 power right there. Whoops. Whenever you level up off a boss fight, you don't always get the level up prompt, and I completely forgot about it. So I was probably missing like 2 or 3 bosses worth of level ups. Oops. But that's fine. Made it through. 106.09. At the time of recording, this was my PB. To get too much lower than this, it's obviously going to take a not losing some fights. Like the Dark Dragon, you can lose pretty late in that fight and definitely lose some time there. But I think skipping the middle grind is probably the most obvious time save. But that introduces a little bit harder final boss, which is, as you saw, already pretty tough. So I think for a marathon safety sort of deal, it's probably not bad to go grind out at least 1 medal, maybe 2 still, for just that marathon safety. But yeah, that's Sea Fantasy. This game is fantastic. Highly recommend playing. I like this list of playtesters, but I'm not there despite playtesting this game. What's up with that? I don't know. I'm not salty. What the heck? It's a really long list of playtesters. No, there's a lot of this game still that you didn't get to see. There's quite a bit out there. It's fun to go see all the different gimmick fish, their designs and stuff. I'm sorry, their sea as. I didn't even, up to the very end, I still accidentally said fish. They're sea as. Oh my gosh. They don't ever call it fish. They call it fishing, but I don't think they call them fish. Whatever. That's Sea Fantasy. Thank you for play. Thank you for play, everyone. And thank you for watching. The end. That's all. Bye-bye.